Before I get into this video, before I continue on, I'm going to preface this real quick because the season just ended, came out and just ended about a week. It's going on week 2 now. I'm going to be talking about Alice in Borderland Season 2 spoilers. Uber spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled, don't watch this. Please. But CBR might have at least one point throughout the article I'm about to go over. But all in all, failed again to watch the show. Failed in its interactions. Now, yes, there's some criticisms for Alice in Borderland Season 2, mainly plot armor. So what? There's dumb decisions in almost every TV show and movie and so on. Yeah, I don't think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's still a fantastic story. So why don't we just get into it, shall we? Alice in Borderland Season 2's biggest plot holes and unanswered questions. Season 2 of Netflix's Alice in Borderland has a bevy of unanswered questions and plot holes that make the narrative seem inconsistent at times. So, I've already taken a look at some of the things that they said. There is one question that I do have, even after watching it, of how is this possible? Some of the best parts about Alice in Borderland, though, is the plot holes. How is this happening? How is this working? What is going on here? That's actually some of the best parts about Alice in Borderland because it's so unique. This is a other world. Now we do get answers as to what this world is, but there's some things that you just don't need an answer to when you realize what this world is. Again, major spoilers, uber spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, please click off the video now. I know I'm probably hurting my retention, all this stuff, all that analytic stuff. This video might not do super well, but please, if you do not want to be spoiled, because I like this show, if you want to go off and watch the show now, go do it. Click off the video. I don't care. I'm going to put this out. Once you do watch the show, come back and watch the video, though. If you don't care, hi, how you doing? So let's get into it. Season 2 of Netflix's high popular Alice in Borderlands kicks things up a notch as Arisu and his friends try to survive the mysterious realm that they're trapped in. Yeah. And this basically just goes over the whole idea of what the thing is. Social ladders, elite survivors, people go down to some base tendencies, so on and so forth. Very high power. Strong women that also aren't uber powerful and actually mess up. But excuse me, there's some interesting aspects to the show that we don't that we don't get in American storytelling anymore. Thankfully, they're able to preserve learning more about themselves, their competitors, and the masters running the competition. Sadly, it leads to even more bloodshed and Arisu losing friends. Yeah. Interestingly, by the time the veil drops in this quaint pocket of space and time, there are some plot holes and mysteries that arise, especially regarding how things were just way too convenient for their attackers. Yeah, it was convenient. Think of some of it like a video game. Some of the challenges are more like video games. Where, let's use the King of Spades, because that's the best example. King of Spades was a former special operations fighter, was very skilled in all forms of combat, and was one of the hardest challenges for them to get through. Because you had to go head to head against him because he was the spade challenge. Spade challenges are killing challenges, essentially. You are meant to kill. Whether that's an animal, people, what have you. It's a killing challenge. Club challenges, team challenges, diamond challenges are thinking challenges. Heart challenges are the hardest challenge because they mess with your mind, your spirit, your soul. So the King of Spades was just a force of nature that would go wherever he needed to go and kill people. So, yes, it was very convenient for him, but the whole area was a city. So let's get into it. The King of Spades' powers aren't explained. He was an elite special forces operative. Now, he did seem uber powerful in comparison, but he was also had tons of weapons, and they actually do explain some things that CBR didn't notice. The King of Spades is a cloaked mercenary who opens the season up by firing on these citizens. He's thinning out the herd, but it never explained how gunfire occurs from the air and high rises. He rolls solo. He has his guns as well as bombs and knives on the ground. He's also able to somehow find all targets and leap on cars without them noticing. While there's a blimp with his symbol in the sky, it's never revealed as a part of his arsenal. So, full stop, yes it is. It was... I'm trying to remember his name. I'm probably going to get it wrong. Arube. No. The big guy. The big guy who was part of the beach and had a big part in season 1. He's back here. He says the blimp is where he gets resupplied. The blimp has his supplies on it. So, in doing that, the blimp is the most important area for him. On top of that, once you get down to the end of the season, realize that they're in limbo in this weird place between life and death, that if you fail, you go on to the other side. If you succeed to the very end, you get a choice to either stay here and conduct games or go back home. That's the whole point. So yes, he has some powers that aren't explained because this is a supernatural world. This is a world between worlds. This is the Borderlands. Borderlands. I kind of like that moment. Had fans seen him remotely operating guns from a distance, automated sniper machines, or using the blimp to teleport his body around, it'd have made sense. As it stands, however, he's just his magical firepower that can find anyone, anywhere. Yeah, that's kind of the point. He is a terrifying force. He roams the entire city, the entire area. He can go anywhere and do basically anything, and he's a force of nature that will, when you come across him, you better run if you're not fully prepared to take him down, because he will kill you. That is the whole point of his game. That is the whole point of him being there, is that he is essentially death. He is there to send you off to the other side. And yeah, he has some powers that probably need to be explained. Some over-the-top TV moments that guns don't do that. People that get shot don't do that. But this is also a supernatural world where things just don't fully make sense. The Purgatory's bosses remain vague. We're not going to get into a whole lot of this part, but that's kind of the point. Like, you get enough to know some of their backstory, but you don't really need to get all their backstory. You just need to know certain aspects of their life. You get King of Clubs. What was his backstory? He was a part of a band. He was the leader of a band. He and his bandmates were in the game together. They loved each other. They respected each other, and they all had different personalities. Let's go to... Queen of Spades? Queen of Spades. Physical challenge. Don't know much about her story. Just that she was good at manipulation. That's all. We don't know what her backstory is. That's fine. I don't need to know it. But then we can go into King of Diamonds. Oh, that King of Diamonds episode. Possibly my favorite episode. Downright my favorite episode. We don't know all of that guy's backstory. We know he was part of the beach. He was there. He was a game master. He was interacting in the world before the games began. He was a lawyer that had that just did stuff and did things he was against because of his ideals. But he was told to just abandon his ideals because you can't live in the real world with ideals alone. So, goes to the real world and goes to this world and wants to die on his own terms. Makes a very interesting game that has a lot of punch to it. You still don't know all sorts of things about him, but you know enough. We get to King of Spades. Let's do that. Special Forces operator. Reliving out a very influential time in his life where he was putting people out of their misery on the battlefield who were dying slowly and painfully. That's all we need to know. We don't know anything else about him. We only hear him talk maybe once or twice. And it's not even long lines. They're in his dying moments. That's when he talks. Queen of Hearts. The final challenge. What's her backstory? Don't know. Where does she come from? Why does she know all this stuff about this world? Why is she so impactful in this world? Don't know. Don't need to know. Sometimes the purgatory bosses remaining vague is fine. They're of a supernatural being right now. They are the people in charge of the Borderlands, the Borderlines. They are those people right now. Their job is to challenge you, is to either send you off to the other side, see if you're wanting to be a citizen here, or help you get back home. See if you're prepared to move back home and understand the value of living versus just not living anymore. Because a lot of these bosses kind of have impacts on each one of the cast members. Each cast member didn't want to live anymore. They didn't care anymore. They were just going through the motions. Some of them just didn't want to be around there anymore. But they helped each member of the team learn that, hey, there's more to life. Figure it out. Limbo returned players who were dead. Okay. One player I do have a question about. A lot of this goes down to uber plot armor. One character does die that somehow manages to come back. Don't know. Don't know. But apparently it happens. A major point of contention occurs with the resurrection of players after they end up in a coma following the meteor. Arisu and Usagi, for example, defeated Mira in the final game and got to possess their bodies once more. But the likes of Anne, I don't know why I had he, likes that Anne was left dead after fighting the King of Spades, while Hia got gunned down close range with a machine gun, yet they got a second chance and are resurrected, which breaks the established rules of the game. It, like fans wondering if others with willpower who got killed were allowed to return to Earth. So, 1 point. I'm going to give them Anne. Anne was the questionable one because Anne, we see die. We do see Anne die. And at the very end, when everybody's back in the real world, she is resurrected on the brink of death, but the doctors have a way to bring her back. That is a good question. That is a good, like, hey, what the heck happened there? We might have to wait till season 3. Because there's a plot point at the end that I'm not going to get into here because it is a questionable plot point and it's what's going to happen next. Season 3 might be cool. Hia, though, got gunned down close range with a machine gun. Now, if Hia's who I'm remembering right, because I still struggle with a couple of their names, Hia, I believe, is her. We see her, plot armor. She should be dead because she basically got sawed with that shotgun. Well, with that machine gun. She crawls over to Ube, lays on him, and they both say they decline. So she's alive there at the end. She gets to move on. They all get to move on. Everybody who said something was still alive, so they declined, and they moved on. Anne is the only questionable one because she didn't decline. She didn't say she wanted to stay because we thought she was dead. She coming back, I do have a problem with. So you have a point there. But that's plot armor. Let's be real. That's just plot armor. The in-game kills aren't consistent. Well, plot armor. This is Agni. Agni. Okay, Agni. What? I can't say it. Him. Yeah, the uber plot armor. Let's be real. The final battle has uber plot armor. And the battle with the King of Spades, Aguni, got it, gets shot in the face, while Niragi and Chizui both suffered mortal wounds to the torso. Yet, they somehow last, remaining alive on the ground while Arisu took Usagi to go face Mira. This makes no sense because their shots were point blank, with many others dying due to similar wounds. So, before we move on, there's a reason the King of Spades, like Aguni, got it. There's a reason he leaves Aguni. There's a reason he leaves Naragi and Chizui. Because he's mortally shot them, they're going to bleed out, so he's just walking away while other people are still bothering him. There's other people around, and when it comes to Aguni, we think he gets shot in the face. We don't even see where he gets shot. But after the King of Spades shoots him, because that's a split moment where they both fire, you don't know who got shot. You see Aguni lay down, but you don't see where the bullet hole is, you just see blood coming out. So all we know is he got scarred. He got shot his ear off, something like that. We don't fully know where he got shot. So we can't say he got shot in the face because we didn't see the hole. We just see blood coming out. We don't know. But yes, Niragi, Chizui, hell, even Usagi, they got some major plot armor because they got stabbed, shot in places like the hip areas and the thighs, and the torsos. They were bleeding out. That's kind of one of the reasons they got left there. They would end up dying. They lasted way too long, but they would have ended up dying. That's kind of the point. Because their shots were point blank, with many others dying due to similar wounds, it felt like the show was forcing key characters to survive, plot armor, when it could have easily killed them in the alley. It made the Spade game scary, but then just resurrected them like Anne as rules were being broken. Let's be real. The Anne revival is questionable at best. I'm going to have to wait to season 3 to see what the heck happened there, because that came out of nowhere. Arisu ignored the city as a weapon. So this is a stupid point, because their whole plot point is destroyed by the end of season 1. Their whole argument here is meaningless with both the King of Spades and the end of season 1. While Team Arisu did hold up in buildings at times to scrounge up food, one has to wonder why they didn't hijack more cars or break into skyscrapers and such when the king was rampaging. Well, here's the point. Why don't you hijack more cars? Well, cars are loud. Not all the cars you're going to be able to hotwire or have keys to get access to. So yeah, you can only hijack so many cars. Not everybody knew how to do that. They had, I just had his name, and we'll have it here a bit, the Tintin. No, I don't remember his name. The car guy. He knew how to hotwire cars and get cars running. Once he was gone, they kind of don't know how to do a lot of that stuff. You have to get lucky and find keys. If you don't have the ability to hotwire or get lucky to find keys, there's no point in hijacking cars, now is there? Now, why not get into a skyscraper and hold yourself up? Well, here's the thing. It's just as easy for the King of Spades to get in there, slowly work his way up, killing you off, and then if you want to get out, you have to go through the King of Spades. It's not practical. Plus, they mentioned the beach mansion in season 1. What happened to the beach mansion in season 1? That became the site of the final game. Holding yourself up in what you think is a very protective area doesn't really work. They kind of showed that, hey, that's a dumb idea. Because you're all basically lambs to slaughter at that point. And combining that with the King of Spades, who can go anywhere in the world except other games, kind of disproves your point here. Yet Season 2 keeps it. King of Spades was stretched all over the city. This is all over the freaking city. He can go wherever he wants. He can enter any building as long as it's not a game. He can do what he wants. So yeah, that's a dumb idea. You are now just a sitting duck in a skyscraper. Where he will end up getting you. The King of Spades ignored his main mission. Well, this pretty much goes on to what I said earlier. People were bleeding out. He was dealing with other stuff. So yeah, he didn't do final blows to everybody because they were going to die eventually anyways. But plot armor saved them. Let's be real. That's plot armor. Who aren't dead yet. Kyuna and Usagi, for example, are bleeding out, yet he refuses to finish them off. Yeah. Because plot armor, and also he was dealing with other people. Everybody started just jumping on him. In that final moment in the alley, everybody does something while Arisu's inside the building spraying tons of aerosol to prepare for that final explosion. Only reason several of the characters survived is because of plot armor. I'm just playing it out there. That is a criticism there. This next point, Jesus Christ, this next point. Okay, this next point doesn't make sense if you actually just watch the show. Because I picked up on this because I initially had the same response, the same reaction. And then as you watch the show and this whole episode play out, you kind of see, oh, well, that's how it happened. So, Arisu has blood erasing powers, apparently. In the game against Kyuma, earlier in Season 2, this is King of Clubs, Arisu has to break Tata's hand to get his electronic bracelet. This gives Arisu extra points in the tag team game, allowing him to shake Kyuma's hand and steal the villain's points. Well, the king's points. I don't want to call him the villain because he was doing his job. He was doing what was required of him, and he was a freaking awesome dude. The problem is, it was a bloody scene that eventually saw Tata bleeding out and dying. Yes, it was uber bloody. I had to look away because that was a painful looking scene. Yet, when Arisu meets Kyuma, he's spotless. It's inconsistent as he just had blood all over him, on his clothes, and on the band. But the show forgets this when he faces Kyuma. That would have been a literal red flag to alert Kyuma of deception, which leaves fans wondering how Arisu could become so clean. Well, actually, it's pretty self-explanatory when you watch the scene play out. You can perfect pick right here, actually. Borderline perfect pick. He has a button-down shirt on here. He's using it kind of like a jacket. Okay. When he's playing throughout the game, he's wearing the shirt. When we meet with Kyuma, the shirt's off. He's just an undershirt. Not really any blood. Nothing on there. In his back he has one of his hands behind him. He has the bracelet in his back pocket. That way you can't see it. Okay? Follow me here. He doesn't have the shirt on anymore. After Arisu breaks Tata's hand to try to stop the bleeding, Arisu rips his shirt off, wraps it around Tata's hand, and then goes off to deal with the end, to finish this all off. That's what he does. So that's the example of where the blood is. You can't see it because when Arisu puts his hand in the back pocket, then pulls it out to show that he's won, that's covered in blood. He still has blood on him. He's just hidden where it is. So he doesn't have magical blood erasing powers. He just... You can watch where everything goes. So yeah, that's kind of a stupid response. This is this final point before I wrap this up. Mira's secret world has no foundation. So, yeah. Partially, yeah. Because what was Mira is the Queen of Hearts. Queen of Heart games play with your mind, play with your spirit, play with your soul. They are manipulation games. They are breaking points. So what Mira's whole job here, in order to beat her game, you have to get through 3 rounds of croquet. Right? Wrong. You have to basically survive her manipulation tactics because she's really good. She's scary good, and half the time when she tells a story, you kind of believe it. You kind of believe each part of it. Because she says it in such a real voice, as in like, hey, this is the reality. This is the reality of where we are right now. This is truth. This is not true. One of the stories, though, as you can end up figuring out that these aren't real because you're not allowed to actually tell the truth. One of the stories that she tells hits home because Arisu kind of believes it. Because he's been questioning, all these stories kind of seem like they could be true. And Arisu believes the final story. Doesn't even have to have reality in it. He just believes it because it strikes a nerve that Arisu has with his past friends. So we'll get into it. In the final game, Mira feeds Arisu lies, telling him they're in a simulation, then they're robots, and a bunch of other stories to break his mind. One that resonates is he's a mental patient, with the series focusing on her working him and trying to destroy his mind with therapy. That's true, because she's using therapeutic tactics, just easy ways to communicate, striking little nerves here or there, just these mental notes that you can do. If you've ever been through therapy or gone through some of the stuff, you kind of see what she's doing. It's kind of effed up because you know she's manipulating him the whole time. She's expert at this and pushes Arisu to want to end. It doesn't matter that the world has no floor because it's all mental at that point. It's all fake. And Arisu's struggling to figure out what's real and what's not real because she's succeeding at manipulating him. There's even a shot where Usagi enters the room and harms herself. Yeah, because Usagi harms herself to try to force Arisu up. Because she's already been established as, hey, she's actually in this world. Hey, you know, Usagi, oh, she loves you. She's really into you. She's been here this whole time. You see her in the therapy room, in the therapy world. You see her there. So it established that, hey, Usagi isn't out of the ordinary. She's been here this whole time. That's why she's a part of your delusion. You know, we had this wonderful episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that you still don't know if Buffy was in an asylum or out of an asylum that whole time. Was Buffy an asylum thing? Or was the asylum real? Or was the Buffy's world real? That's one of the moments here where you don't fully know what's real and what's not real. You're starting to actually kind of believe that, hey, maybe this whole thing has been a lie this whole time. And Usagi has just been a part of his delusion. That's a reality that stories have done for years and it works. So don't act like, hey, that's a plot hole. Why did this work? Because it worked in Buffy, where there's still questions if Buffy was actually just in a mental asylum the whole time. However, the show never explains how their minds get taken to this realm or if they're hallucinating. You don't need to. You just need to know that they're somewhat delusionary right now. These are safety worlds. This is a form of story. TV shows have done this for years. This is a trope by this point. So you don't need to have it based in, say, hey, well, how is this all working? How is this all working? Because you kind of think it could be real. They say it in a way that, hey, this all could be real. Mira could just be the therapist. It also doesn't explain how Usagi is cognizant, acting like a glitch in the construct. And if it was indeed a Matrix-like world, where one's conscious could move up a level, this ends up being the weirdest and most convenient narrative jump, with Mira viewing their love in the asylum as a reason to help them beat the game. Well, what happened? Okay, so Mira was working over the person playing the game the whole time, Arisu. All those tricks, all the manipulation she was doing was on Arisu. She then said something that made Arisu believe that even Usagi was in the asylum, not in this Borderlands, not in the Borderlines, not in that area. They were in an asylum the whole time. This was a therapy session. He's there because he suppressed the memory of his friends being killed in front of him. Well, they did get killed in front of him, but she says it was in a different way, not the way that you have imagined it. So, all that goes down. All that happens. He's starting to believe, hey, it's real. About to quit the game. He's about to just give up, take these pills, lose everything, on the floor dying. Then you see Usagi break in there, snap him, sees that it's not working, then maims herself, cuts her wrist to try to get him to realize that, hey, she loves him. She wants him to persist and to snap out of it, and it works. That push of love, this push of they love each other so much is what ends everything. Because Usagi wasn't in that room, wasn't being manipulated. It was Arisu. So she was the one that was able to snap into there. Just simple points here that you just looked over. Out of this whole entire article where they're pointing out plot holes and things like that, the only one that they actually get anywhere right is the Ernst plot, which might be explained next season because, spoilers, again, spoilers through this whole video. At the end of season 2, we get shown that, hey, there's still a face card that we all kind of ignored. The Joker. The Joker still has a game, so who's the Joker? What's going on there? Could Anne be a part of the Joker game? Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But until then, guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Share it out with your friends. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.